Hello from the Austin Peay Writing Center. Today we'll be going over how to integrate quotations into our writing in MLA style. When using an in-text citation in MLA, it is important to use the author's last name or names and the page number. If the source is not paginated, only the names are required. If you are stating the author's name or page number within your sentence, you do not need to put it into the parenthetical citation. For example, according to Smith, one would not need to put Smith in the parentheses due to it already being part of the sentence. So here are some examples. When integrating a quote into your writing, never leave the quotation as its own complete sentence. So we never want to just leave this as it is. Every quotation is made up of three parts, consisting of a signal phrase, a quote, and a citation. The signal phrase consists of your own words that signal to the reader that a quotation is coming. The quotation can be long or short. If it is quite long, then it may have to be formatted differently as a block quotation. As for the citation, we will be using parentheses, but you could use footnotes or endnotes if you are not following MLA style. Notice that this citation consists of the author's name and page number, as lengthy details can be saved for the works cited page. There are many ways to introduce a quotation into your writing. A simple way is to announce the author or speaker and add a verb to describe the way in which the idea is expressed. For example, Jonathan Truculent writes, "The best part of the pizza is the crust." There are plenty of other verbs in which can be used to describe the way in which the author is introducing the idea or statement, such as argues, claims, suggests, develops, and so on. The MLA uses the present tense of the verbs, and APA would use the past tense. Another way to introduce a quotation is by having a formal introduction, which consists of an independent clause. An independent clause has a verb, a subject, and a complete thought, which allows it to stand alone as a complete sentence. So in this, the subject is Godfrey Bogart, the verb is claims, and the complete thought is opera is a dead art form. Think of it as adding a complete sentence before introducing the quotation. You may wish to introduce the signal phrase after the citation, which is also acceptable in the MLA style. This is often used for the sake of clarity and wording and how your writing is formatted. So for example, the high cost of drugs are as much as an effect of government intervention as a byproduct of free market capitalism, writes economist Hugo X. Santana. Notice that by default, the citation comes at the end of the sentence. As a result, the comma has been placed inside the quotation, even though it was not there in the source. Sometimes, for the sake of clarity, you may wish to place the citation immediately after the quotation. Make sure your signal phrase and the quotation form a complete sentence. While you are free to experiment in the academic prose, the default is to place your signal phrase before the quotation. Otherwise, your reader won't immediately know what to make of the quotation and has to wait for an explanation. You can also put the signal phrase in the middle of the quotation if you would like. You may wish to introduce the signal phrase after the citation, which is also acceptable. So when you're integrating spoken words, you place the signal phrase later in the sentence. So this would make more sense as "I will stand up for what I believe in," shouted Emma Stanley at a rally in Vermont, or you could say Emma Stanley shouted, "I will stand up for what I believe in." Another acceptable variant is to introduce the quotation with a short prepositional phrase, such as according to Virgil Caine, Japanese gymnasts have managed to improve their elasticity by eating Kopi Sumat Calamari. And then at the end of this, you would put the page number. If you would like to continue after the quotation, if you don't want to end the sentence right at the end of your quotation, that is still possible. But it is best done when your signal phrase runs right into the quotation and when the quotation is relevantly short. So Odysseus is the man of twists and turns, an apt description of both his character and his wanderings coming home from Troy. And then you would put period and then after the parentheses. Another quotation type is the block quote. A block quote consists of any text that is longer than 4 or more lines of prose or 3 or more lines of poetry. No quotation marks are in block quotes. The entire quotation is indented, and the final punctuation comes from the citation. So here are the steps for running a block quote. Type the phrase that introduces the quote. Follow the phrase with a colon, which is the symbol. On a new line, tab twice or once, depending on what your professor requests. So make sure that you know what your professor prefers to indent the quote. Do not use quotation marks before or after the quote. Place the end punctuation after the quote. Insert the parenthetical reference and return to the left margin to continue typing the rest of the paragraph. So here's an example. Most block quotations are introduced by a formal introduction, such as John K. Mahoon adds a further insight to our understanding of the War of 1812. If you're quoting a significant amount of text, you need to give it a more detailed introduction so that your audience knows where this is coming from. Avoid continuing your sentence after this quotation. Just start a brand new sentence. Again, always check with your professor about the spacing of block quotes. Some might want it 1 space indent or 2 spaces indent. You should also check about your tabbing. Some prefer them 1 tab to 2. Whatever your professor says is best. You can always double check with an email or asking in class. After the block quotation, there's no need to indent your next sentence. So it would be like your introductory one with the indent part. If you have any further questions, feel free to schedule an appointment with a Austin Peay Writing Center tutor today and let us help you tackle quotation integration.